Hey everyone, welcome back to Wix. I hope you're having a fantastic day. My name is Ryan and today's video is the second part of our little mini series for CMS. If you did miss the first one, we talked about creating our first database, and in this one we're going to be creating our first dynamic page. Now, if you want to watch the full 4-part mini series, it is currently available on our Patreon if you want to see it early and without ads. So feel free to click the link in the description to check it out. But without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right in. Now, this video is going to be pretty important because we're basically going to be describing why CMS is so important. In the last video, we created a database for team, but maybe that isn't the best example of this. But let's just pretend we want to create our own custom product pages for our products. And let's say we have hundreds, if not thousands of products. Then if we did not use CMS, we would have to create hundreds, if not thousands of different pages. However, with Wix and EditorX, we have a 100-page limit. So even if you wanted to create custom product pages for hundreds, if not thousands of products, you would not be able to. In fact, if you even got close to that 100-page limit, your website seems to load a little bit slower than normal. So the importance of CMS is to allow us to create one page design layout similar to this, which we'll do later on in this video, but the database is going to fill in the dynamic pages with different content. So it makes it look like our website has more pages than it actually does. I just wanted to create this quick little note before we move into this lesson, but without further ado, let's jump right in. So in the last video, we created this very basic database, and before we actually get started, I want to add 2 more fields. So what I want to do is create a field for maybe their position type. So we want this one to be a text, and maybe we can call this one job title, just like that. Perfect. And then we'll create one more for order. So we'll go ahead and select field type. We want this one to be a number, and we want this one to say display order. Just like that, because we might not want to display our team members alphabetically on our website. We might want to display them by their job title. So let's say if team member 3 is this CEO, then we might want to display him first rather than alphabetically with team member 1. Let's say they start with an A and this one starts with a Z. You want the CEO to be displayed first over team member 1. So let's just go ahead and fill out different job titles for each of these members. And now we can come over to display order and kind of choose the order in which we want them to display. So kind of like what I was saying earlier, we might want the CEO to be displayed first. So we'll go ahead and place a number 1 here. For marketing, maybe this one can be second. Designer can be 3rd, web specialist 4th, and maybe customer service 5th. Again, this doesn't really matter, and you can kind of choose which order you want to display them in. But now we are basically done. And just for fun, let's go ahead and add one last team member. We'll call this one Team 6. We'll go ahead and add a new image. Maybe he can be the CFO. And display order, we actually want this one to be 2 because typically that comes after the CEO. So we'll go ahead and press save. And we'll just grab this email here real quick and fix this. Okay. And maybe instead of 2, we can go ahead and come over here. We'll do 3. Then 3 we'll do 4, for 4 we'll do 5, and then 5 we can do 6. Perfect. So now we can have them display in this order. In fact, what we can actually do is say display order, we can do sort low to high. And we can delete the name sort just like that. So now we have the job title and the display order kind of choosing the order in which they display here inside the database. And we can actually use that to display items on our website as well. In fact, I'm just going to move the job title over here because it's a little bit more important. Perfect. Now we can go ahead and close out of the database. But what I want to do now is come over to our database again. We can come over to collections and we have this 3 dots right here. So what we can do is add a blank dynamic page. We can add a dynamic item page, or we can add a dynamic list page. For this example, we'll choose the add dynamic list page, and it's going to create the page for us on our website. And what you'll notice about this page is it's just a list of all of the items from our database, just like this. So you can see it put an image here, put their name, it put their bio, and it put like a little read more. And this read more typically connects to their dynamic item page, which we haven't created yet. And just because it's bothering me, I just kind of want to add a little bit of vertical spacing here in between the rows. So we'll add like 60 pixels here. Perfect. So now there's a little spacing in between the different items on different rows. So that's kind of what it looks like for a dynamic list page. Now, what I will say is we can actually add this to a normal page. A dynamic all page or dynamic list page isn't that necessary. So let's say we wanted this on the about page. We could easily do that. So what we can do is, just for fun, I just want to copy this database from this page and let's just bring it over to the about page. I'll just paste it in. Okay. Then we'll set all the margins to 0 because we don't need that on the top and bottom. But you'll notice that right now it's just a shell. It's just a repeater with content inside of it, but the database isn't filling it in. And that's just because on the dynamic list page, when we created it, it automatically added this database and it automatically connected everything to it. So on our about page, if we wanted to do the same exact thing, all we would need to do is come over to add. We can go down to content manager and we can say dataset, and it's going to add this little thing right here. If we press settings, we can then choose which collection we want to connect to. Now, because we only created one, we're only going to see one option. So we can connect it to the team dataset. And here we can apply filters and sorts and choose the amount of items to display, which we're not really going to mess with at this very second, but I'll show you a little bit more about that here in a little bit. But because this is connected to the team dataset, I can now select this image. We can press this connect data. We want to connect it to the team dataset right here. So it's called team dataset. And then for the image source, we can connect it to the image. Just like that. Perfect. Then we can also add alt text, which typically I will just connect the tooltip and the alt text to the name, especially for team members. But then maybe we want the image to link to something, so we can connect this to the dynamic item page when we create it later on. For the text item, we'll follow the same exact steps. We'll connect it to data. We want to make sure we're still on the team dataset. And then we want to connect it to the name. Perfect. Next, we'll do the same thing for the bio. We'll connect this, make sure it's still part of the team dataset, and this is going to be the bio. You don't typically have to use a dynamic list page if you don't want to. If you want to display things like this on your normal pages, you are more than welcome to. I will go ahead and tell you right now, I rarely ever use dynamic list pages. However, what I always use with CMS is dynamic item pages or dynamic title pages. So if I press this 3 dots again, we can create a dynamic item page, and we can go ahead and see what this adds to our website. And here we are. So basically what this added was a page about one item in our database. So we can see from here at the top, this is our team member number 1. It has the bio right here. It has the image, it has their email as well. And it also has a next and previous button. Now what I will say is this image does not look the best because of the position of it. So just for fun, I'm going to undock it, and we'll go ahead and maybe set this to be like 60%, and it should kind of readjust to make it look a little bit better. We'll also go ahead and send it to the left with maybe like 20 pixel gap just to match the rest of the content, but Obviously this layout is not really like preferred. It doesn't look the best, to be honest, but you kind of get the general idea. It created a page for team member 1. So now if we go back to the about page and we click this image, press connect to data, now we can actually link this to the dynamic name page, which is the dynamic item page. We can also do the same thing for this button down here as well. We want the click action to link to the dynamic team name page. Perfect. So now if I go ahead and press preview, and let's just go to team member 3. So we'll click read more. It's going to take us to the dynamic page for team member 3. Also, if I go ahead and press previous item, it can take us to team member 2, and vice versa for the next button. And one thing I will notice here is we don't have the job title. So just for fun, let's go ahead and add a text element here. We can make it pretty small. So we'll just add this one right about here. Just like that. Let's make it like 100% width. And we'll just go ahead and grab this box and let's just add a row here. Make sure it's in this row. Maybe add like 18 pixels on the top and bottom for margin. Then we'll grab this row here and we'll set this to minimum content. And for this, maybe we can make it a bit smaller. Instead of 22, we'll do 16. And we want to connect this to data. We want this to connect to the team data set, and we want it to connect to their job title. Perfect. So now we see what they do. So they have the CEO, the CFO, designer, marketing, and you'll notice that right now we have the CEO and CFO at the top, but we want the CEO in front, and maybe we want the marketing in third, and designer in fourth, and then customer service last. And we already kind of did that in our database. So if we come back over to the team dataset, press manage content, you'll notice that we created a display order here. So if we want to replicate that to display the same way on our website, we can go ahead and press this dataset right here, press settings, and at the bottom, you'll see sort new to old. Instead, let's go ahead and press add new. We're going to say display order and low to high. And now it's going to reorder all of our content so that the CEO is in the top and then like customer service was last, which is what we did inside of our database. And just for fun, let's also open up the settings for this. And let's say we want to display only 3 at a time. And what that's going to do is it's going to cut down on the amount that we have here. And I'm just going to go ahead and move the items from 4 to 3 just so we have something that looks like this. But now let's go ahead and go back over to our dynamic name page here. And maybe we can design this to look a little bit better. So for this top area, let's go ahead and add a new section. Inside this section, let's go ahead and make it maybe 100 VH, which is going to be 100% of the height. And I'm not sure what this line is here, but you can just ignore it. And what I want to do is add like a 2v1 grid. And maybe inside of this, we can go ahead and add the image of the person. So just for fun, let's go ahead and bring it over here. We'll plop it in to this section over here and we'll stretch it. Perfect. Now over here in this left section, let's go ahead and change the color to black because I kind of like the way that looked. And what we can do is go ahead and add this text over here up into this section. Let's bring this text down a little bit. Let's just copy and paste it. And then for this one, maybe we want to connect this one to their job title. So we can put that right underneath their name. Then we can bring this text up a little bit. And last but not least, let's duplicate this one. We'll bring this one down here. and this one can connect to their email. So now let's go ahead and just grab each one of these items. We'll stack these together. We'll center it here in this section. And now we can go ahead and delete this section down here. We can even delete this. And maybe if we do want to have these next and previous buttons, we can just place it here in this section. Let's make it like 90% width. We'll center it, send it to the bottom. We don't need it to be this big, so we'll make it like 100 pixels. Let's remove the background color. We'll split it into two different sections, and we can move this previous button over here. Move this next button over here. We'll go ahead and center it and send this one to the right. We'll center this one and send it to the left. And we can easily just change the text color to white for this button. And we can do the same thing for this one over here. So now we have a lot nicer of a team section here. And I think that looks a lot better. So just a recap here. When we create databases, we can easily create both dynamic list and dynamic item pages. Dynamic list pages aren't as important because you can create the same exact effect on normal pages and it doesn't really matter as much. However, dynamic item pages are where things are really useful for items like this, where if we want people to be able to click on one of these team members and link to their bio page or a specific page just like this, that's where dynamic pages really come in handy. I do want to stress the importance of this, and that's just because let's say we have 100 or even 1,000 different team members, or maybe team members isn't the right use of this. Maybe if you want to create your own custom product pages and you have like 1,000 different products on your website, then that's where dynamic pages really come in handy. Because if you guys don't know, Wix and EditorX both have a 100 page limit. So you can't even really create thousands of pages if you wanted to. And the closer you get to that 100 page limit, the slower your website seems to load. So you really don't want to kind of get close to those 100 pages. However, this dynamic page is just one single design. However, I can easily just go in between all of the different items and the database is going to fill in the content. It's just one page design layout, but the database is filling in the content for us, making it look like we have a lot more pages than we actually do. That is why CMS and databases are so important. But that's basically going to wrap it up for today's video. If you all did enjoy, please consider giving this video a like and subscribing to the channel for more Wix and EditorX content coming out really soon. Thank you all again, and I'll see you on the next one.